Well, ladies and gentlemen, the Flash movie has officially been released. It's a movie that I do not plan on personally seeing, but I've seen plenty of clips to have an opinion about how the movie looks, at least. And I gotta say, some of the clips I've seen regarding the CGI looks about on par of what I would expect from Hollywood these days, which is not very much at all. Hollywood, unfortunately, has a very low bar when it comes to their actual presentation and how they like to make things appear and look on screen. And then the funniest thing is that whenever they have a terrible looking movie, they always have their excuse lined up ready to go for the reason why the movie looks so bad. Now, when it comes to The Flash, the CGI is something that a lot of people have been complaining about. And now we have an article here from Bounding Into Comics with a headline that says The Flash director Andy Muschietti claims that the film's terrible CGI was intentional, meant to put audiences in the perspective of the Scarlet Speedster. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, they're trying to say that the CGI is purposefully bad. That's what they're saying. Now they're not even trying to hide it and say, oh, no, the CGI is not bad. I don't know why you guys think that. The CGI, we spent a lot of money on it. No. They're flat out saying that the CGI is absolutely terrible and that was their intention in order to give you a viewpoint of what it's like to be the Flash. I mean, this is one of the weirdest copes and excuses I've ever seen. So we're going to dive deeper into it, guys. But of course, before we do, just consider giving this video a like to push us out into the YouTube algorithm, and consider subscribing because we're on our way to 25,000 subscribers. It says, as theatrical audiences and social media users have begun to experience the horrors of the Flash's awful CGI face to uncanny valley face, director Andy Muschietti has claimed that the film's poor graphical quality was an intentional creative choice meant to show audiences how the world looks from the Speed Force doused perspective of its titular hero, the Flash. From an opening sequence featuring a number of infants that look as if they were ripped straight from Ally McBeal to the PlayStation 2 level renders of Barry Allen's friends and family within the Speed Force to the awful digital necromancy performed on both Christopher Reeve and George Reeves, the Flash stands as a prime example of how the execution of CGI can go horribly wrong. Now, before we continue, ladies and gentlemen, this is something that's been a complaint for a lot of movies now. I feel like a lot of studios in general are cutting back on their production costs regarding CGI, which is really bad because when you think about it, certain movies absolutely rely on phenomenal CGI. Think about making the Avatar movie, but then cutting back the CGI department by like 80%. Think about that. Think about how ugly and horrible that would probably look and how terrible it would be for the franchise overall. Now take that idea and mask it onto something else like The Flash or something that's been produced by Disney, and now you have an idea of just how terrible some of these movies have been looking lately, because The Flash is a movie that you cannot have bad CGI in. If you have bad CGI in The Flash, it's really going to hurt the movie overall, as we're seeing in the box office numbers. But let's continue. So it says, for example, remember the widely mocked floating head scene in Thor: Love and Thunder? I do remember that. If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, this is the picture right here of the floating head, which was absolutely terrible. It says, well, the Flash not only employs a similar technique to have Barry pop out of the Speed Force at various intervals throughout time, but they use it multiple times, each appearance looking worse than the last. Or just take the film's climactic battle between Barry's ragtag Justice League and the invading Kryptonian forces of General Zod. Shot on the boring, completely flat horizon, everything looks completely fake and green screened in, and a feeling which isn't helped by the fact that both Barrys seem to glide across the battlefield as they run rather than actually interact with it. Now, there was a particular clip that was floating around online. I don't think this article has it, but it was so terrible. You see the Flash running so slowly, even though obviously he's running very fast. It makes him look like he's kind of floating through the air, and just the way it looks is so bad. I don't know why anybody will find this interesting to look at or entertaining. I've seen some reviews say, oh, the CGI is not so bad. It's actually pretty good. Where are you watching this movie? Like, what movie are you watching? Are you watching the same movie? Did you get the same version of the movies that's been coming out overall in general theaters? Like, you cannot tell me that the movie that you're seeing is the same as what everybody else is seeing, because the CGI from the couple of clips that I've seen is freaking terrible. I don't even want to see the rest of this movie. I never did to begin with, but I definitely wouldn't want to after seeing those clips. It says, however, despite its lackluster to say the least quality, the Flash director Andy Muschietti has claimed that the film's off-putting CGI was not a bug, but rather a feature. As during a recent, that sounds like something Bethesda would say. As during a recent interview by IO9's Jermaine Lassier, whether or not this awkward aesthetic was what he had envisioned for Warner Bros. Discovery's big box office bet, Muschietti confirmed that it, in fact, was. The idea, of course, is we are in the perspective of the Flash, explained the director. Everything is distorted in terms of lights and textures. We enter this water world world, which is basically being in Barry's point of view. It was part of the design, so it looks a little weird to you. That was intended. Despite Machetti's claim of stylization, it's hard to take its explanation serious when Zack Snyder put off the same effect, replete with CGI revival of Cyborg, to far greater results in his cut of Justice League. Further, the end result of Machetti's work, whether intentional or not, calls into question the report that Tom Cruise, the same man who takes practical effects so seriously that he leapt off a physical mountain of his upcoming Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, had called the Flash director to praise the film as everything you want in a movie. Honestly, people, I don't even know what to even think about this, because I've seen versions of the Flash that look absolutely incredible, not from this movie, but from previous iterations of it when the CGI was done justice, you know what I mean? And it just seems to me that this is an absolutely poor excuse for spending less money on a film that was already too expensive to begin with, right? This movie has had many reshoots, to the likes of which the budget is never going to be caught up. I think it's literally impossible at this point for this movie, but still, it's not something that people enjoyed watching. It's not something that people enjoyed looking at. This movie looks ugly overall for most of its scenes that are very CGI heavy, and unfortunately for them, it is a movie that is going to have to rely on the CGI, and if it's not there, then you really don't have much going for it aside from story, which a lot of people are saying are lackluster to begin with anyway. So anyway, thank you so much, guys, for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.